Welcome in, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about 10 tips to help you in playing Manor Lords. We're going to talk about a few early game items and then some stuff that's going to help you along the way. So if you're new, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below, and let's get to it. It's going to be very important that you build a lot of residential space around markets. In fact, you may want to center your town around various markets placed within your city. I practiced with this idea of basically making bubbles for my markets and building residential around them as tightly as I could and compact at that. The idea here is to make sure that as many houses as possible can benefit from having the market nearby, because your ability to upgrade your houses will be based on the availability of some of those goods at the market being able to get to those houses. And you can check on this by clicking on the market and hovering over the different categories. You can also see if a house is getting what it needs from the market by clicking on the house and checking the amenities and market supply section. If the boxes are filled, that means you are meeting the requirements for that house to be upgradable. Now, it is possible to have multiple markets throughout your city. That way it can service multiple different areas of your city, and you can do this just by drawing out markets in different parts of your town. I found it best to let one pretty much fill up before making the next one and making sure they had some distance between them. But don't forget that not every house is meant to be upgraded in your towns, so be prepared to have some that just don't really get past level 1 or 2. And like I mentioned, houses being upgraded is what you need to actually develop and upgrade your town and get development points. And you can check that by hovering over your town name at the top of the UI. It's also important that these houses, especially around your market, have some area in their lot for production. When you're setting up your lot, you're going to see a couple of icons pop up. One is for the home itself. Now, if you drag your property back some, you're going to see the availability for a production area. If the lot becomes wider, you're typically going to see a space for more residential space on that one property. What you can put in that production area depends on the level of house. Tier 1 is going to get something like vegetable farming, goats, or a chicken coop. Now, if these houses are tier 2, you're going to get more options. Some of these options may depend on your development points, but these options are important because they're going to contribute to your economy and your goods that you have in the village, both to trade and also what's going to be in the market to help you upgrade the houses around them. If you do make a lot big enough for extra living space, you can click on the icon after the house is built to eventually add that space. But that's a very easy way to double the living space on that lot while still having the extension space for production. Next up, let's talk about trading. When you find a good that you want to import or export, it's not about how many you want to import or export. It's about your desired surplus. So this is important with exporting because that's how many goods you're going to keep in your inventory while selling the rest. However, with importing, you're selecting that desired surplus that you want to maintain. The problem becomes if that good is used for some sort of manufacturing and consistently gets taken out of the inventory, it can continue to cost your town a bunch of money to keep that trade up. Now, in my early game experience, there's a couple things that I found easy to export to help balance this, and that was planks and hides. Hides you can get from the goat shed on the housing extensions we just talked about, and planks you get from a saw pit that you can set up in your village. As you meet the requirements for upgrading your town, you're going to see that you have development points to spend. Now, as of the early access point of the game, there is a limit to how many development points you're going to get, which is about 6 development points per region. And those development points are only spent in the region that you're building. If you go and set up another region, that'll be a separate set of development points. So basically, you can have multiple regions that have beekeeping, for example, which is something you unlock via development points. But you'd have to unlock this for every region that you expand to if you wanted beekeeping to exist in all of those towns you're setting up. But by spending your development points in one area, you may be missing out on other things that you could be manufacturing, producing, and potentially trading. So that means that every region can have their specialty, their thing that they're going to manufacture or focus on. And that may be determined by what rich resources you have in that area. And that probably means that you need to set up infrastructure to be able to trade these goods from one region to another region so that manufacturing can be focused on in certain areas, depending on what your setup is. Now, the next tip has to do with those development points you get when you upgrade your town. Much like we're used to with tech trees, you're going to unlock something that might give you access to something else further down the tech tree. One that you might not see right off the bat would be charcoal burning, which actually unlocks the ability for deep mining. And now, why is this important? The resources that you're going to mine are a finite amount, so there is a limitation to how much you can get off the map. However, if you actually unlock the charcoal burning and then you unlock the ability to have deep mines, you can place deep mines on top of these rich deposits, which gives you an infinite amount of supply from that mine. Rich deposits are marked by the crown on top of whatever resource it is, and the mines apply specifically to iron or clay. This goes back to sort of specialization within certain regions, because if you get really lucky and you have both a rich clay deposit and rich iron deposit, it would be crucial to have that deep mining perk available. Let's talk about bandit camps. This is something you're going to see in some of your playthroughs of Manor Lords. And it's important to get rid of those bandit camps because they will come into your village and take some of your goods. Now, sometimes the bandits will be actually hanging around the camp itself, and they will try to fight you if you approach with some sort of soldiers to get rid of that camp. But if you are able to fight and take down the bandits and their bandit camp, you'll get the option of actually adding money to your treasury or sending it to a nearby town. If it goes to the treasury, it's mainly used for like political things, like maybe hiring mercenaries to help out in a battle. If it actually goes to your nearby town, it can be utilized in trade and other things within that village or region. And the point is that this can be really helpful if you send it to a nearby town so that you can utilize it to start doing some upgrades and some trades into that specific village. I would really recommend trying this for smaller villages or new areas that you're trying to build up. Now, speaking of battles, if you're taking over a region from somebody else, or maybe there was a bandit fight on this region that you were trying to expand into, it might be helpful to actually let the bodies sort of disintegrate before setting up your new village. This is something I learned the hard way because your villages are going to grow based on the approval rating you have. And if there's a bunch of bodies laying around, your approval rating will have a tough time going up until all those bodies are disposed of. This can create a very slow progression for your village and make it very difficult to grow the population and get things moving. In fact, some people may even leave. Now, if this happens to you or there's bodies on some sort of region that you've developed, you can always build a corpse pit and assign folks to the corpse pit. It's just not a very fast process. Now, if you have a situation where you are going after a bandit camp or potentially there's a fight about to break out, maybe you're being attacked, it's important to know one thing about mercenaries. First of all, they don't take from your region's wealth. They take from your treasury. Your treasury can grow from either taking down bandit camps and moving that money to your treasury or from taxes after you build your manor. It's important to know who you're hiring for your mercenaries, but also where they're coming from. So first of all, you can kind of see their loadout in terms of what they're going to bring with them when they're coming out onto the field. But more importantly, you're going to see what region they're going to actually spawn at. They're also going to be spawning at the edge typically. And if it's a region in the middle of the map, they're going to be spawning at an edge of another region to walk there. So you need to be aware of where they're coming in from so that you can better prepare for wherever they need to be, because they're also going to lose effectiveness as they run across the map. And be sure to disband your mercenaries when you are done with them because they will charge you as long as they're on the map. You can check information about what they are charging you on the right side of the screen underneath your character's information. Let's talk about a couple other ways that you can earn some money for your village, especially if you're struggling pretty early. Now, we've already talked about upgrading houses so that you can get development points, but also so that you can get some artisan jobs. Now, you don't need to make every house have an artisan job because that's going to take people out of the workforce, as well as locking that plot into that job. Once you have a couple level 2 houses, there's a couple of artisan jobs you can get that can manufacture quite a bit for not so much. One is a cobbler who's going to make shoes. That's going to cost about 2 leather per shoe, but I've already suggested that you should go ahead and start setting up goat sheds to make hides. This will help with clothing in your markets as well as giving you something to export. The other artisan job I'd recommend pretty early would be the Fletcher shop. They can make war bows from 1 plank. That can help you stock up for your military, but also give you something to export for a decent amount of money. The game doesn't always do a great job of illustrating what you need to make something, how to make certain goods, or what you need to upgrade to make some stuff. So if you need help, hit the exclamation mark at the bottom. You can find what resources or what unlocks you need to do to be able to make other things. Now, there's one more simple tip I can give you, and that is when you are looking at your town and you're trying to organize and understand what's all going on, especially as your village grows, you can hit the tab button on your keyboard. Here's where you can see basic information about what's going on in your village. You can see where people are working, what houses have people living in them or not. You can also get a good idea of what goods they have available in their market. You can also see what buildings are under construction and the percentage that they are done, as well as where your ox are. So you get a pretty good overlay of what is happening in your village at any given time. And that wraps up our 10 tips to playing Manor Lords. So I hope you found this helpful. If you're just getting started, you can check out my Manor Lords video where I cover starting a village, and I'm looking into potentially making more as attached to that series. So hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below with your thoughts, or if there's any other helpful tips I should have mentioned, and I'll catch you next time.